afternoon hunt of October 18th. It's the second day of early muzzleloader season here in Iowa. I'm out on the lease tonight with a new piece for us. We just picked it up. I think we made a scouting video on scouting this new piece, but basically it's just a big cattle pasture, and it's honestly kind of permission type ground. But the nice thing about leasing it is we can decide which side of the road the farmer puts the cattle on, which really helps because it obviously gets the cattle off so the deer aren't having to deal with them, and it keeps people from being out of here, but it also lets the pasture grow up. And we noticed that this pasture is just full of clover, and the deer have noticed it too. Basically, this whole side has turned into a massive food plot. It's full of clover and pasture grass, obviously, but a lot of deer are using it, and it's surrounded by a ton of timber. So it's no shocker that there's some good deer around. I've hunted this piece, I think 2 nights, and Trevor hunted it once. We just haven't gotten around to putting out videos yet, but we've had some good hunts already. We weren't sure about this place going into season, but as soon as the cows came off, all that clover came up, deer sign just started popping up. In those first couple of hunts, we had some awesome luck. I saw a decent buck both nights. Actually, the second night, a borderline shooter, and he was within muzzleloader shooting distance. It's a really pretty 10, young deer, but really pretty, so it'd be a tough call. And then Trevor had a good hunt up in that corner and passed a nice 8-pointer, it sounded like. And then that following Monday, so 2 weeks ago, I came out here and hung 3 trail cameras and made some mock scrapes over them. It was the opening weekend of season, so there hadn't been any scrapes opened up, so I went ahead and made a couple mock scrapes and hung the camera. And then on the way down Friday, I came and checked the cameras, and there's a really big buck coming out on the camera that's about 100 yards away. There's a camera on a fence gap. It's just a fence that runs through the middle of the pasture, but obviously deer cross the path of least resistance, and I just cut a branch and made it hang straight down. They really like vertical looking branches. It's a nice oak tree that holds its leaves. I just scraped the dirt out and peed in it myself, and they've already taken it up. It's a good scrape now, and there's a monster 8. It looks like an 8 using it. When I first pulled the card, I thought he was a booner because I just saw the view from the back, and instantly I just closed the laptop and went and got the other card. The other card in that corner is on a vine scrape. It has some good deer on it, just not quite as big and not as many bucks as this one down here, which is surprising because both times I've hunted it, I've honestly seen more deer come out on the other corner. But that big one was daylight on Thursday, and it's basically the exact same conditions except better tonight. It sleeted all morning, and it was in the 30s. Now it's in the 40s. I have my puffy jacket on actually because I froze this morning. I'm a little warm right now, but I don't want to have to do any movement once I get settled in here because I think I have pretty good odds tonight. Huge cold front, middle of October. Can't ask for any better conditions. Pressure's like 30.2. I know there's some big deer around. I actually did hunt this morning as well and saw another shooter, I think. I couldn't really tell. I didn't do an interview this morning because I knew I was coming back to the same tree, but I just slipped in here, didn't bump anything. It was sleeting all morning, and right at first light I saw a really solid buck. I couldn't really tell what he was in my binos, and then I got the camera on it, and it actually picks up more light than my binos in the night mode, and I could see it was a solid buck. I don't know if it was for sure a shooter, but it was a good one. The footage is just a little grainy, and he was actually up in that corner, but all he has to do is come out 100 yards closer, and I'll be able to get a shot. So this is a really sweet stand with a muzzleloader. Like I said, basically hunting a huge food plot, and then also on a great transition between the fence line and this creek bottom. It's just money. So I'll probably be hunting this place quite a bit. whenever the wind permits. Yesterday I hunted public all day. That buck was even bumping does, so heck, he could come out and just check for does down here, so figured I better just head to the stand. But I felt really in the game the past 3 hunts, and it's just sweet. I love this stuff. Just really switched on, in tune. I mean, the conditions are good. I'm so confident tonight that I'm nervous, because I just really, I don't want to jinx it, but it feels like it could happen, so I'm set up plenty early, but the deer should start popping out soon. We'll see what happens. That's a pretty far shot, but I felt pretty good, man. Oh, I hope I got him. Oh, it's only 4:40 in the afternoon. That buck stepped out at 185 yards, which I feel pretty confident with these guns. They're so accurate nowadays. And I actually set the camera arm up so I'd have a good rest. I was so solid on him. And he's a nice buck. I mean, we had trail camera pictures of him, and obviously he looked way bigger in person. And as soon as I pulled the binos up, he just looked like an old buck. And I was like trying to decide whether I was gonna shoot him, and my heart was racing, so I'm like, probably. And then a doe spooked. My wind's been pulling out that way more than I would like. And I just didn't want, he was alert. She had ran a little ways, and I mean, there was time, but I just felt really confident and just started squeezing the trigger. Shot surprised me, which is good. I thought it looked like he just buckled, but he didn't drop, so I'm a little nervous. Hey, I just shot at one. Not the 8, the 10, but he's big. Yeah, a little bit shorter. He looked old as dirt when he stepped out, and I was trying to decide whether I wanted to shoot him or not, and my heart was racing, so I'm like, that's probably good enough. You know, I'm supposed to go to school this week, and heck, I could have missed.
How far was it?
185. I'll keep you posted.
Alright, nice job.
Alright. Bye. while I watch the footage back, and I think I absolutely smoked him. I think I can see blood pouring out of him. And now I know I can see it because I came up to the shot and I found the blood trail like right away because I had this tree for a marker, so that's what you want to see. Long bubbles. Well, you went a little bit further than I thought, considering how big the blood trail is, but there it is. Ooh. Look at the freaking body on that thing. Solid buck. Shot just a touch high. Pretty good though for 185 yards. What you guess? 190 kilograms?
Yep. What's your guess?
I don't know. We've never done it before. I'm gonna guess 175. Dressed.
What we got for weight?
I think 180.6.
Huh.
That's pretty big, field dressed, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't really have the slightest guess, but he's
Cool. Then we just turn the power off. Right? Did it go off?
Well guys, the next day we wanted to take good pictures of him in the daylight and get him out and wrap up the video here and get a better look at him. But sorry it's a little bit windy, but just a really cool hunt last night. Honestly, probably one of my best hunts ever. I ended up shooting this buck, and he's a great deer. He's, I think, probably the oldest deer that came out all night. Just a big cold front, had him on the move, they wanted to get to those greens to eat and check those and work scrapes along that edge, and they were fighting each other. The big bucks were raking trees like I've never seen before, to be honest. Big trees just shaking. And so just a really good night, and he ended up coming out with a group of does after them. And actually we have trail camera pictures of this deer. I recognized him pretty quick, and I knew it was a big bodied, nice clean 10-pointer. And my only hesitation was I knew there was a bigger 8-pointer in there, but when he stepped out and I saw his big hump, he's a really big hump shoulders for some reason. He just looks like an ancient buck, really mature deer, and a really nice one at that. I mean, he really got my heart racing right away, and after I realized that, I was like, well, what more do you really need? I was pretty fired up, so decided to shoot him, and then it made my decision even more clear when the does caught my wind and started to spook. And actually, I don't know how long you would have stuck around because you can't see it because I was framed into the buck, but those does that came out before him had just winded me and actually started to run, and they stopped, and he was just looking at him just completely broadside. It was like 188 yards on the rangefinder, but those muzzleloaders today are just so accurate, and I can hold like a 2-inch group at 100 yards. I was pretty confident. I had a good rest. Actually, I was using the camera arm for the tree, but I just felt really solid, and I used the dots on the Nikon scope, and I've checked them before, and man, I don't think I could have asked for a more perfect shot, just right behind the shoulder. I'm really proud of that, really happy that I made a good shot, especially at that range. And I was confident, so I was expecting that. But you know, when they don't drop, you always kind of wonder, and you always start to doubt yourself when they run out of the field. It's just part of it. But after I shot him, I ended up seeing 2 other, I think, mature bucks. And as they were coming in, I'm like, well, I better make sure I hit him, because if I missed him and that big 8-pointer comes out, I'm going to be pretty upset with myself. And I wouldn't have shot even if I couldn't tell on the video, just because I would have wanted to check for blood. But as that big 8-pointer was coming in, I was able to slow down the video and see that there was a bunch of blood pouring out of him. So super happy with the shot. And then that big 8-pointer and another non-typical ended up coming out, and I got to film them. So that big 8-pointer for sure is going to be probably our next target. Probably close to the top of the list, just a really big deer. And didn't spook him too bad, so he should still be in there. And I'm excited to get back out there and chase him with the bow. That spot's a little bit harder for a bow setup than it is muzzleloader, obviously, but I think especially during the rut, we should be able to get a shot and maybe even decoy him in. So really excited about the new lease, and just overall just a really fun night. So he scored 180 pounds on the scale, field dressed. So nice mature buck. I don't know what exactly that is live weight, but it's pretty heavy, seems like. So really old deer, and couldn't be happier. So anyway, we'll take you along the ride for the next hunts on the lease, and make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, follow along our season, and we'll catch you all on the next one. Thanks.